Vick tried to walk back his comments this morning, tweeting, quote, Colin Kaepernick's hair has nothing to do with him not being on an NFL roster right now. Let's be clear here. I wish only the best for Colin. I stand by what I've said about him being signed at some point this season to help an NFL club. I think he is a great kid who has a bright future, and I'm looking forward to seeing him on the field again. Trust and believe what I said was not in malice. I don't have an issue with Michael Vick said at all. I don't think he needed to issue a clarification. I think if anybody watched his comments in context, he was very clear. He thinks Colin Kaepernick's not in the league because his play the past 2 years is not that good. He thinks that Colin Kaepernick should exhaust every avenue to clean up his image. And I have no problem with that. That's the advice my father gave me. That's advice my big brother would give me. He didn't say anything that controversial.
It's not a question of it being controversial. What he said was his truth. That's what worked for him. So Mike Vick was in a situation where he had to change his image to get himself in the league. That's what he felt and it's what he believes that got him back in the league. So that's what he's telling Colin Kaepernick to do. And like yesterday, we let Mike talk, but I said yesterday, that's not the reason why he's not in the league. Changing his haircut, cutting his hair. There are guys on every NFL roster that have cornrows, that have afros,
involved in worldwide controversies that have driven the league the entire offseason.
It's not about his look, his reasoning for not being in the league.
Michael Vick very clear on that. He said it's about his play.
It's not about his play. It's not simply about his play.
That's Mike Vick's opinion. I get that.
Right now I'm giving you my opinion. It's not about his play.
There's no issue with what Vick said, in my opinion.
Well, I wish Mike would have stayed with it in the fact that he's saying that for me in my career, I had to change my outlook and how people looked at me and saw me. Now, with Colin, you talked about the play aspect of it, too. When Michael went away, he could still play. So it was still a glimmer of hope with Mike coming back that he would be the old Mike. With Colin, you got a chance to see him on the field and not producing. So how does that look in regards to an organization saying we want to bring him back? And I'm going to say something about the look, the cornrows, and how people are perceived.
No, the afro. He said the cornrows was fine, though.
But I'm talking about perception.
Yep.
With the cornrows is fine. But when Allen Iverson came in the league, he had a swag about him. It was a little bit different. With Kawhi Leonard, who brings it in, you don't even equate the two the same. Because they're two different personalities. You see what I'm saying? In regards to cleaning up your act, so to speak, and how you view people. So Colin has a lot more to do with his play than anything else.
I couldn't care less what his hair looks like. You know, the bottom line is the tape tells me that he's going to struggle from the pocket. That's what the tape tells me. What I'd love to see, if we're on the path of saying you want to clean up your image, I would love to see him articulate his position because he is a smart kid. He's a well-spoken kid. I'd love to see him come out and say, hey, man, this is where I stand. Because I will tell you this. You know, a couple of years ago, Michael Jordan donated $2 million to social injustice causes. You know what that was? It was a 24-second reader in the 24-hour news cycle. That's what it was. Blip, boy, isn't that nice? Michael Jordan donated this money. Let's move on. And I'm not bashing Michael Jordan because that's a great thing that he did. And Colin Kaepernick has donated a boatload of money. But I just think that if he came out and articulated his position, it would help him with some of the franchises that are afraid of, this is not a black-white issue, it's a black-red issue. Afraid of losing money.
Mark, I want to get you back on the square, though, a little bit. You're a dad. You have a son who's an athlete. You give your kids no advice about appearance and how you present yourself?
All the time, I tell my kid, clean it up, man, all the time. Like, cut your hair, clean up your beard.
Okay, hold on. One more thing, Eric, one more thing. What? We all keep coming from this place that Mike Vick allegedly, and there's no proof of it, that he was saying, Colin, this is what I had to do, so therefore you do it. You can remove that because he didn't say that. What he said was, he was looking at the dude with this big afro, and it's like, you know what? You know he needs to start with his hair and cut his hair. Present yourself better.
I sat right next to him when he said this was advice that was given to me. So he's giving advice that was given to him.
That was in a follow-up question.
But he's saying this is what works through me. That's what I get. That's what worked. But I will firmly stand on the fact that his haircut has nothing to do with it. It's a combination of all the things that are happening.
Sure.
Part of it is his play, but
No
we cannot
question.
put it on his play. And what everyone always wants to go to, and I'm going to say this quickly, everyone always wants to go through, he has to play in a certain system, okay? And there are only a few systems he can play in. Well, there are a whole lot of quarterbacks that have proven that they can't play in any system, and they still have jobs. So it's more to it than just his haircut.
And listen,
or
if
his
you
play.
take on the burden that he took on, there's some extra burdens that's going to be placed on you. So Mark Sanchez is not out the face of a polarizing issue. And whether we like it or not, it's a polarizing issue. Mark Sanchez didn't wear socks with pigs on them, so the rules are different. You can go to a fast food restaurant and no one's going to bat an eye or think, oh, my God. If I go, people are like, man, you overweight. That's a problem. You need to stop blocking. The rules are different for Colin Kaepernick. He won't come out and say, I want to be a starter, or I'll accept being a backup. I'll accept the NFL minimum. We don't know. His rules are different than Blake Bortles and Ryan Fitzpatrick and everybody else because of the decisions he made. My decisions about what I eat after this show are different because of the decisions I made. So we need to quit analogizing him to every other quarterback and every other position and every other player that he put himself in a different spot.
Okay.
And Michael Vick is just sitting there like most people with common sense. A bunch of people I know, a bunch of black people who don't care nothing about white people have given me similar advice. Hey, man, clean up your image. My father never liked me in the hair rig.
cutting his hair, so if he comes in and he's clean cut in a suit, that's going to get him a job?
It doesn't guarantee him a job. That's not what Mike Vick said.
But you know what, though? I do believe for the corporate structure who looks at Colin, they're going to look at him and say, is he turning the corner somewhat attitude-wise? Is it going to ensure the job? Is it going? This is what I'm saying.
NFL.
Hold up, but is it going to ensure? It may take one organization that sees Colin comes in. I'm not saying, when my son was younger, I told him, I said, listen, you got an issue here. Consequences. Whatever you choose to do, you got to deal with it. And that's what I'm saying.